So how did the run come to be? So the run came to be, me and Mike spitballing one day that we wanted to do something charity-wise. I went to him and said, is there something we could do? That Salute Inc. time is coming around the corner. That I knew that he had done something Chicago Marathon-wise. We just came up with the idea that, hey, let's just run 50 miles. And how that came to be, I honestly don't know.
And heard about Izzy O'Brien and how he died. And I heard from one of his friends. I didn't read about it in the newspaper, didn't see it on the news or anything. Got no coverage at all. And I was like, well, this is wrong. It's one of our heroes. We need to pay tribute to him.
Well, I was away from Marine Corps training for about 2 weeks. I had no internet or no phone, so I really was kind of out of touch with Mike and the rest of the gang. And after I looked at my email, about a week into it, he had sent me a photo of Izzy, and I was just kind of like perplexed as to why I just had a picture of this soldier. And I scrolled down a little bit, and that was his story. And Mike told me the story, you know, newlywed, 9-month-old son, 24 years old, passing away in Iraq. And I was just, that's when it hit me like, yeah, this is it. This has to be it.
So I talked to PJ about it, and it clicked, just happened. Made perfect sense.
And, you know, the way that Mike, he didn't really have to say anything about it. It was like, let's do it. I'm down. Let's do it. And I'm going to run the whole 50 myself.
Yeah, well, PJ was just going to do it himself because he's crazy. He just said, hey, you know, I'm just going to run 50 miles. And it was just going to be me and a couple other people and his dad, and we were just going to do it one night, and then that's it. And I was like, that you're nuts. But he's like, no, I'm doing it. And he was going to do it. So I was like, let's jump on this and let's really do something special with it. Let's make this a big deal, and let's raise money for Izzy's son at the same time. So
it was kind of a crazy idea at the time, but it was something that, it was one of those things that it's a high standard. And when you set yourself to such a high standard, you have no choice but to accomplish that standard, that goal that you set yourself to. And
but it was all him, and he was going to do it no matter what.
It was one of those things that I'm pretty sure I announced I wanted to do it. Okay, I'm pretty sure I announced I was going to run the 50 originally at one of my speeches at the Freedom Celebration. I think it was June 5th. But then I went away for 2 weeks to do mountain warfare training out in California with the Marines. And you know, that was pretty tough training as it is, up and down mountains all day, 10,000, 12,000 feet. So it was a pretty good workout, but I didn't really run that much. I'm not gonna lie, you know.
Yeah, I did one marathon once before, and the thought of doing 2 marathons is so beyond comprehension, it's ridiculous. So I would never do it, but it's amazing PJ would ever even think of it.
I maybe, the week leading up to it, the most I ran was maybe 10 miles once, but every day I ran some, you know, pretty tough sprints to try to prepare for it. But how do you prepare for 50 miles in less than a month? Less than 2 weeks, because when I got back from the Marine, you know, the training, it was June 26th. That left less than 2 weeks, and, you know, everyone's starting to hear about, you know, what I'm going to do. They heard me on Slater's show for the first time saying, you're going to do what? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, well, let's go run together or something. I'm like, oh, I got to work. They're like, well, how are you going to do this? And it's one of those things that I hope honestly now that when you say you're going to do something, no matter what the cause is, I'll do it. We get to New Bern and we pull up, and right when we pull up, I mean, the whole town was empty. Everything was dark, and we're just like, all right, we're here. And we just take a right, and I mean, everyone's there. Cameras are flashing, lights are going. People with signs are there. The Roby family, who I'm very close with now, is there holding a Marine Corps flag and a "You Can Do It" PJ sign, and I'm just amazed. I'm like, wow. Like, we're in New Bern. We're not even close to Jackson yet, and already there's easy 200 people here at midnight on a weekend night, you know, seeing us off.
There were so many people there that I thought there was like a carnival going on. I thought there was like a festival or something. I was like, what are all these people? Like, I was like, I can't believe we booked this for the same day that there's like some event going on in downtown New Bern. And we pulled up and I saw a sign that said, "You Can Do It, PJ." And I was like, oh, like, this is unreal. These people would show up at midnight to come out here and watch us run. I just knew that at that moment I realized that people understood what we were doing and what PJ was doing, and that was really awesome.
And that was when it hit me. I was like, this is something big. And before the run, a lot of Izzy's friends are coming up to me saying, hey, we're gonna be with you as long as we can. We're gonna be here for you. And that's when it all just started to set in. Like the whole ride up there and the whole weeks leading up to it, you think, hey, I'm gonna go up there, run, get it over with, and feel really good about doing what I've done. But to see how many people were honestly wanting to accomplish this with me, be a part of this with me, it was just something that had to be done. And pulling into there and seeing all those people, and I went in to use the restroom at one of the local establishments that was still open, and everyone just stood up immediately, started clapping, shook hands with all of them, and they gave me their support. And it was just unbelievable, the amount of support that was already waiting for me at midnight. And that, in my mind, already led me to believe that, well, I can't wait to see what lies ahead. And
I cannot thank you all enough for coming out here today. I had no idea that anyone would be here. I thought there'd be a handful. Bless you guys so much. So wonderful. Let's not forget. PJ, hold it up here, brother. Let's not forget why we're here. A, it's the day before the 4th of July, and it's the day that we declared our independence from the mother country, declared our God-given rights of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. The most important reason we're here is to pay tribute to the life of Sergeant Izzy O'Brien, U.S. Army, who was killed in Kabul, Iraq. Kellogg on the radio the other day said, I've never met him, but he's my brother, and I love him. And I know that he would do the same thing for me. TJ's gonna run 50 miles in memory of Sergeant Izzy O'Brien. I hope we can see you all in a few hours after you get a nice rest and maybe a nice delicious breakfast. I hope we see you at Community Bank and watch this hero cross the finish line with an American flag draped over his back. It's gonna be an amazing sight. Where's TJ? There he is.
We got this. You got it.
Izzy O'Brien's parents' house is in 2 miles. We're going to stop there and pay tribute to the family and hopefully make it as far as you can. Dyer's in 16 miles if you want to make it that whole way. Let's have a moment of silence for Izzy O'Brien, the reason we're here today. This is for you, Izzy. Amen.
Izzy!
Let's do it, Johnny!
Right when I got to the starting line, I thought it was just gonna be my buddies and a few others. I could see some other people in running gear, but then we took off, and when I originally saw the video, I didn't see how many people exactly took off with us. That was unbelievable, and that was one of those things that still reinforces that this was done for the right things, because it makes you feel so good what you did, because so many people wanted to be a part of it, and so many people wanted to accomplish it with you, and so many people wanted to help you get through this, that any support that they put into it was more than I could ask for. So showing up in New Bern that night, that was the way to start it off. That was definitely the way to start it off.
We made up the route a couple days before. We made that route just because we went through a bunch of different towns that way, and it was just whatever. Didn't even know until the day after that someone called in and said, you run right by Izzy's parents' house. Perfect. Just another example of how all this just happened so perfectly, just for all the right reasons. It was about 2 miles down the road. That's where a bulk of the people wanted to run to, even if they're just not runners. And it was stunning. How many people, just family members, just there waiting for us, and we just gave hugs all around and put that first sign in. And I remember Izzy's mom gave PJ a hug and said, I'll see you in Dyer. And that was it. We're off. Let's do this.
you in the morning. All right. You know what? You guys go to sleep and get a good breakfast.
We'll see y'all soon, okay?
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, let's keep running.
That was cool. I knew that we were gonna stop by. I thought we'd just stop by and see Denise and Ed for just a second. I thought it was just gonna be them, but I mean, it was the whole family. And they all came out and they all shook my hand and they all hugged me and they all, you know, I almost probably wouldn't have been able to finish. I probably would have finished the run an hour later if I could have sat there and talked with Denise and Ed for a little bit longer, because they were just amazing people. And like I said, never meeting Izzy, but if those were the people that were a big part of his life, then there's no telling how great of a character that Izzy had. And I probably could have stayed there all night. I probably would have liked to. For the next 48 miles, just hung out with them. But amazing people. To show up right there 2 miles into it and to have that was unbelievable. I didn't expect that. And so she was there the whole time for me. Just like unexpectedly. I didn't think, you know, I didn't know that she was going to be, but it was cool having that mom figure there going through the whole run with you. That was really cool, getting to meet them so early in the run. It really, I mean, what a way to start the run, like in the first 10 minutes, you know.
That's the part that the people at the end of the run didn't see. That's the story that they didn't necessarily see. Running, pitch black, windy roads, total solitude. You know, right in the beginning, you got a long way to go. That's a tough part of the run. Luckily, from New Bern to Dyersburg, there were a lot of people still running with us, which was great, but you got a long way to go. You get to mile 16, if you're doing a marathon, you're almost done. You're doing 50 miles, that's just a small chip off the block.
We came into Dyer. Not many people waiting there. I don't blame them. I think it was like 17-mile mark, so maybe that was, you know, a little over 3 hours, about 3 hours, a little under 3 hours. So it was about, you know, almost 3 in the morning. We stopped there, planted a sign, and unbeknownst to me, behind me, when we came in, there's a gazebo, and around that gazebo, there's a bunch of flags that you can purchase and put someone's name on them. And Mr. Harris is his name. I think he lives up there near Dyer, and I've seen him numerous times in all the runs that I go to in Jackson. And he comes up to me and he's like, I think Izzy has a flag over here. And we go over there, and sure enough, Izzy's got the whole back row. Someone bought up the whole back row for him, and it just keeps getting better and better as you keep going with the run on and on. It's just like he was there the whole way with you through the run.
You got this one? Yeah. I've got one. Take it.
Hey. Yep. Good luck. You want me to watch?
Pretty good crew.
No.
And you have to do anything else? It'll vibrate every mile.
Will it keep a lap pace every mile?
Yep. It restarts it every mile. So every time it vibrates.
So if I sprint, it won't. It's not like an average total. It's like.
It's just mile to mile. Okay. That makes sense.
Yes, sir.
All right, man.
See you, Shane. Thanks, man. That was awesome. All these guys are pushing it, and you know. That was the worst part of it. I'm glad you didn't say a word about those hills. Nah, man, it's a great route. I just drove it the other day.
It's a cake. Flat as a cake.
No, it wasn't.
Hey, downhill from here.
It's downhill all the way to IHOP. That's where we're headed. I just rubbed my nose with baby powder. Whoa. Oh man.
Good running.
I have to listen to these guys complain the whole run. Where's the icy line? That was horrible.
How'd you like the skunk? The skunk is a good skunk.
There's a traveling skunk out there.
Yeah.
Every 2 or 3 miles it was just, it was doing its thing. So when are you jumping in, Mike?
What? How many people are continuing from this point? I don't know.
We're like, no,
These guys are stepping up. Okay, we got Hero, the rest of Team Hero. What are they up to?
They're hurt.
These guys keeping up?
Nah, I don't think so.
Who's riding?
Like PJ, you
definitely get used to it.
I got you.
I ain't gonna lie.
Oh man,
I didn't expect those hills to put that kind of work on.
I think that's what did it.
It's like you'd run up one and then you'd look and you'd see the reflectors go up and off and you're like, God, that's not what I need right now.
Like all. But
That'll do it.
I don't work.
Save it for, I don't find it.
You guys cannot start looking miserable on me. 'Cause you know what it's gonna do to me?
we feel great.
Come on in for the picture. Come on.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
Missing Dexter.
Yeah!
Guys ready?
Yeah.
Glad you're back, man.
Get up. Wake up, Miles. Wake up.
Ow! Ooh, that's like dude. All right. I think that's where the hard part started, was in Dyer. I think I had a few power bars in Dyer, changed my socks, and hit the road, and I think that next stretch was the worst stretch of it all. It was Mike. I'm never gonna forgive him.
Yeah, PJ's killing me about this. I had no idea. Like I said, I just made the course just because we went through a couple towns that way and it'd be fun to stop at the towns or whatever. And I rode it once in my car. And I was like, oh, this is fine. Like, it's a little hilly, but it flattens out eventually. It doesn't flatten out eventually.
Telling me that we're gonna go down 412. Like, yeah, we're gonna do 412. No, we're not gonna do 412. We got something easier. We're gonna go down this, that. And he posted the route and showed me. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. A nice little downhill. It looks like it's, you know, for anyone that doesn't know, Newbern's in a swamp. So when you go from Newbern to Dyer, it's straight uphill for 17 miles, in case anyone wants to know that.
And if any marathon had that as their first 25 miles, it would be one of the hardest marathons in there. It's as hard as you possibly could have been, and never got flat. And PJ wasn't too happy about that during it, but now he is, knowing that not only did we do 50 miles, but we did a tough 50-mile course.
But I wouldn't have had it any other way. I honestly wouldn't have had it any other way. I wanted to finish that 50 miles. I knew crossing the finish line, I knew I wanted to finish with nothing left. I wanted to know that I had given it my all. I wanted to know that I laid it all out there, gave him everything I could, and tried to finish as hard and as fast as I could. And running down 412, I think we were going to the river last weekend and we just drove up 412 and it's just nice and flat. And I remember just saying, oh man, this looks like it would have been a lot more fun. And I mean, we were just flat the whole way to Dyersburg, and I'm just like, and that's when it hit me. I'm glad we didn't run this. I'm glad that when I hit that finish line, I dropped and had nothing left. And so I apologize to Mike. I let him have a pretty good earful, probably things being said that can't be said right now for obvious reasons, but I wasn't happy with Mike at the time. But in retrospect, I'm really glad he picked a hard course like that, because I guarantee Izzy would have been climbing over mountains for me had the situation been reversed. And I'm glad we took the hard road travel. We get to Trenton. The good part is you're running at night, so you can't really see too far ahead of you, which is a good thing in all honesty. Running at night, you've already got the safety vehicles behind you with you, so you know nothing bad can happen to you. And we're running and the sun starts coming up, and that's when it starts messing with my head. Like, I can see things all the way in the distance there, and they're not getting any closer.
That's the part of the story that most people didn't see, is the part from Dyer to Trenton. Most of the people who ran the first 16 miles stopped at that point, and there were just a few of us running, and people didn't see the total darkness, the complete solitude, just emptiness, and you're almost thinking, why am I doing this? Like, no one's here, no one's gonna know. What are we doing this for? And all you had to do was remind PJ, all you had to do was say Izzy, and that was it. Just kept moving.
From Dyer to Trenton, you know, Mike is like, all right, one more hill, this looks like it's it. You know, he's looking at the iPhone like, oh, it's one more hill right here. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And you go up that hill and bam, there's another one, because you can see the reflectors in the road just going up and away, and you're like, Mike, you know, and then he hops in the car for safety reasons probably. Oh man, and it was just like that when you got into Trenton. You get off the hills in Trenton, and as you're coming around, anyone that knows going from Dyer to Trenton, when you come up, you can see the courthouse. Tell you what, I saw the courthouse right over that hill, and I was like, man.
Yeah.
But you know, it's so far away, even when you see it. But you can see that courthouse from a ways away. And I hadn't been there in a good while, so I didn't really know how big it was. I remember it being big, but I'm looking at it coming around the bend, and as I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, we must be close, because I'm thinking relativity, you know, the size of it from where I'm looking now. And then the road takes this big right turn and then leads up to it, and I'm like, man, of course, that would be it. And you know, you're running straight on at the courthouse for a good 2 miles, and it's not getting any smaller. And we finally pull up to it, and I kind of sprinted up to it. I think WBBJ was waiting there, and
halfway ahead of schedule. Just ahead of schedule.
Wow.
Right.
Man, this is rough.
Izzy.
Izzy, baby.
What?
You're doing all right?
Yeah, making
it. Sort of.
And I just dropped. Not drop like, okay, I'm done, I quit. That was that time where I was like, all right, I gotta change my socks again because my feet are soaking wet. The humidity was so awful that morning that as soon as I put I would probably dump a whole bottle of Gold Bond in the shoes, in the socks. 1 mile, it's done. It was so humid that day.
Man, it's burning.
Dad, you ready?
This means it's working.
You need to bring water? I need water, man. What do you
Want some Gatorade, get some electrolytes in you?
That'd be good too, but just to sip it, yeah. Hey Dad, can I get a Gatorade as well?
How you holding up?
Dude, I found my second wind back there a minute ago.
Yeah, you took off.
Yeah.
I was holding it like 11:20. You know, we started off 10 for the first 17 and we did it, but then that next, you know, those hills at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's what got us. You know, that's why I'm hurting as bad as I am now. Like, you can train for the distance, but you can't train for the hills if you don't have them. And those are pretty bad. But found my second wind down here trying to catch that pace back up. So, feet are fine. Feet are good, man. Found my second wind there. Just hurting, you know. I wasn't a sprint. I just found a win. You know, I got the pace back on at least 10:30. I want to stay between 10 and 10:30, and I mean, it's just those hills. Those hills they mess with your head. Like, you know you can do it, and you can make the run, you can make the distance, but you throw those hills in the equation, man.
Halfway there, you know, and PJ said he may have bitten off more than he could chew. And you don't know how to talk to someone when they're in that mode right there. But I know PJ enough that he wasn't going to stop. He just had to get that off his chest. But he was definitely going to keep moving.
I definitely opened my mouth. I definitely opened my fat mouth on this one. You know, I tried to take a power nap, but I was so damn excited about doing this.
Well,
just like,
this had to work, because otherwise you...
And now I'm not really excited about it anymore.
So kind of...
I definitely looked at Mike and said, we could do 100. We should do 100. And he definitely gave me that look like, slow down. I think we were at a softball game last week, and I was like, dude, I went on like a 10-miler before I went to the softball game. I'm like, you know, I'm feeling good. I'm like, Mike, let's up the ante. He's like, stop. let's conquer 50, and then maybe next year. You know? Will they ever know that we took a shortcut?
You will for the rest of your life.
I knew you were going to say that. But I was like, I need to eat. And I'm not one of those experienced long distance runners, so it didn't hit me until a little bit before Trenton. I had a power bar. As soon as it was in my hand, it was gone. I didn't realize how hungry you can get on the run and how easy it is for the human body to want to eat while you're running. And we hit Trenton, and I'm sitting right in front of the courthouse, and everyone's like, you got to put a sign in, you know, you got to stake a sign in the ground. And I'm just like, not now, you know. And Jenny Keel walks over, and she's like, what do you want to eat? And she's holding like 12 different things. She looks like the spokesperson for Barnhills. She's just carrying like an all-you-can-eat buffet in her arms, and I'm like, just drop that here. And it's strawberries and bananas and oranges and all sorts of things. And I probably ate the whole thing, and I almost got to eating the whole thing, and she was like, she pretty much pulled it all away from me. It was like, you can't be eating all that. And I hit Trenton, and that's when I was like, wow, this is gonna be interesting, this last part of the run. And
So when you hit exactly 50, you want me just to pull you over or what?
Stop.
start warming up the paddles. I'm gonna need it. You know, nothing's comfortable right now. They were comfortable when I bought them. Everything in the last 4 hours and 6 minutes has not been comfortable. I don't think we were doing it for Izzy. It'll get done.
We're feeding you for food.
If I rub my nose again one more time with Gold Bond on it.
1, 2, 3.
You done? Oh, we will.
Okay.
Are you in a hurry?
Yeah.
It's just like is there a Vegas bet on our finish now?
We got a show in here.
I have a feeling he's got a bet with someone like, yeah, I bet you that we finished. I want to go home. No, I don't. Let's finish it. Let's finish it.
You're gonna finish this, man.
All you gotta do is remember why you're doing it.
You're gonna finish this.
It'll get you through it.
I got faith in you.
And I remember there was one moment we were running around the courthouse in the square there, and PJ was about to cut the corner of the sidewalk off instead of running on the road. And we were like, whoa, PJ, what are you doing, man? You're gonna shortcut 10 feet here? And he's like, oh, and went around, and PJ was gonna do the whole thing. And once he started moving, I think the sun started to come up. I think the darkness started to wear on us. It was just dark, you know, it's just dark. But once the sun came up a little bit, you're like, all right, let's pick this up a little bit. And once we got back out of Trenton, I think PJ got definitely a second wind.
On both sides of the road, it's just American flags. 2 miles, 3 miles easy. It's a flat road. And that was one of those moments again where you're like, I didn't feel tired at all. I didn't feel thirsty at all. I didn't feel hungry. I wasn't hurting. Running down that road right after the courthouse from Trenton to I guess where 45 and something else intersect, it was just flags lining the road, and you're just like, and the sun's coming up over the hill, and you're just like, wow, cool, let's do it. That was really good, just to see the sides of that road lined with the flags, and that just really put a lot of things in perspective, because I think, you know, given the weekend it was, so many American flags down that road. And then there were 3. Been a nice little crowd for a while there.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
But when the crowd starts going,
The crowd left. But
it starts leaving.
That crowd was
You're
helpful
like,
for 16 miles, right?
Yeah.
Imagine
That was I can't believe I ran that 17. That was just hill after 14 hills. And I remember right when we got out of that town, my buddy Joseph Talley let me borrow his Garmin GPS watch, and I'm looking at it every now and then, trying to keep a good pace to keep myself, you know, able to finish this thing. And I look down at the watch and I'm like, 26.2. Cool. You know, I look over at my dad who's in the van, and he's about had it. He looks like a kid who's been up playing video games all night. He's just, the head is bobbing, the eyes keep closing, and you're just like, hey Dad, hey, we just ran a marathon. And he kind of wakes up and kind of looks over at me like, why did you just wake me up to tell me that? And he's like, well, do it again. And I'm just like, oh, you know, you're expecting some kind of inspirational, like, you're doing great. He's just like, do it again. I'm just like, well, all right, you know. The marathon. This is the other 24 I'm worried about. Oh yeah, Mike wanted to start his little, oh yeah, here come the hills, but there's only 2, man. I was here, I'm just like, save it. I told him to shut up and save it. I don't want to hear it. I'll tackle him as I get to him, you know? I'm like, I don't have time for you anymore. And and we're running into Humboldt, and you know, you can see the sign, you know, welcome to Humboldt, and you're just like, yeah, we're here. And then we take a right, and I meet my buddy Travis McNatt, who's an officer up there. He's a police officer up in Humboldt, and a squad car drops him off, and he runs with me. So that's another good Marine buddy that's sitting there running with me, and he starts running with me, and that's when the hills start over there by the country club, and over there by the Humboldt Country Club, you know, you're going up and down and up and down, and you're just like, when is this gonna end? And you've got great friends with you. I think Roy Heron also jumped in with us, which was really cool. Great individual who was definitely a good talker for the run. He had the cool things to talk about, the nice, interesting, hey, we're not really running, let's talk about this. You know, get your, like, those left field things to talk about while you're running to take your mind off of it. And, you know, we're just running through, and I mean, it's just hills, up, down, and it was just one of those things where you're like, where is Humboldt at? Because there's no way that we haven't hit it by now, but 33 miles. Well, that's something. That's something. but we do hit Humboldt over there by the Walmart, and that's when the police escort starts, and that's cool. When you have a police escort to lead you out through the entire town, that makes you feel like, all right, not only safer, because, oh Lord, no, I needed all the help I could get at that point, but it was just a really good it was good showmanship of them to be there on their own time to escort us through the town and make sure we got through as quickly as possible.
Which was great as well, because that's one of the reasons we do it too. So when you see police blocking traffic for us and giving us salutes as we go down the road, I mean, that's really cool, and that's an energy boost. And every time that happened, you could see PJ pick up his chest and pick up his head and run a little bit faster, which was great.
You know, we're running through Humboldt, we hit that Walmart, and I think there's about everyone in front of me, because everyone was doing a lot better than I was at that point. And right as we passed the McDonald's, right there's some bikers who are waving flags, and they're giving us the support, and that was cool. And I mean, we start running, and I look over to my right, and there's a gentleman that's wearing a Marine t-shirt, and he has a Marine digital cover on.
And he walked up to the front of the road, the side of the road, and stood in the sharpest salute that only a Marine can do.
And he salutes me as he's moving, facing me the whole way. I tell you, that was one of those moments where you're like, he didn't have to be here to do that.
And that was his tribute. And it was stunning. And Jenny and I were in the front car, and we both started crying so hard I thought we were gonna drive off the road going 3 miles an hour. And 2 days later, someone called into the radio show and said he was in Humboldt, he was working, and one of his friends drove up and said, hey, you know, some people are running and there's a production crew and police, and they're waving an American flag. You know what's going on? He's like, yeah, I do know what's going on. And he said he had to do something, and he doesn't have a lot of money, but he said he wanted to pay tribute to a Marine in the only way that a Marine knows how, and a Marine can do best. And he did it, and that was the most memorable moment of the entire run for me.
And right after that happened, I'm hurting. And I can hear someone coming up behind me. You just know when someone's coming up behind you. But I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was maybe one of my buddies, one of my Marine buddies. And I look over to my left, and there's this gentleman that's just running, and he's just looking back at me smiling. And I'm like, in the sun, I can't tell who that is, but he's got this big grin on his face. And it's my old hockey coach, Rusty Revere, who's it was just one of the last person you expected to be there at the run was there. And I just look over and I see him. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And that immediately, everything that was wrong with me at that time, gone, went away, done. I felt awesome. And you know, he sits there and runs with me like, I wouldn't miss this for the world. And I'm like, all right, what do you get? You here for the end of it? He's like, yeah, I'm here for the end of it. And I'm like, and he'd been my hockey coach, my hockey mentor, as long as I can remember. And I'd never seen him run, and I'm like, he's about to do about 15 miles with me. And I'm like, wow, okay, now I've got to do this. And
Yeah, he already made put his 2 cents in. Yes, this is my husband Paul. DJ's dad.
Trying it out.
New socks. Where's Dexter?
He's in bed.
Is he all right? You guys are doing fantastic.
Can I get him? Yeah. I feel like that.
Yeah, we've got 2 bags up front.
Yeah, there's more water back here.
Last 12 miles of my career. Hey, Dad, turn around, look who came.
How are you doing?
Hi, Rusty. How are you?
I'm doing great. When I saw PJ's name, I thought I've got to be part of that.
He came out of nowhere.
No telling what might happen. All I've seen is the back of everybody for the last 8 hours. So I know what everybody's wearing, and all of a sudden there'll be a new shirt now. Yep. Where you come from? Oh, that guy came out of this house over here. People would just come out and run.
He pulled one of those things where he ran by me as he's looking at me smiling. I'm just looking around like,
when did you have time for a hickey?
no. We got to what?
We got to run one.
We got
to dig down
walk
into
the
the bottom
last
to get it, man.
I don't want to have to run back.
antibodies out here?
Yeah, he's still on the phone with the JPD.
He's not important, doesn't matter, right?
Here we go, everybody.
Yeah, I'm trying to hurry up. I'm like, PJ, let's get going, man, because we were on schedule, everything's going good there, but being like the guy who was sort of like also in charge of the show once we get to the finish line, like people were starting to show up, and it was about the time when we said that we might be running. So I was like, we got to, let's get going here, brother. And he was having nothing of my encouragement to get going. He was on his own time, and that was fine. There was no deal about that. But it was a little longer than I would have liked. But I mean, who am I? I didn't run 42 miles. So it's easier for me. I'm too, PJ. Let's move it, brother. I've been in the car for an hour and a half. So, but yeah, it was a little longer break. But that was it, man. 8 miles. Yeah, like that was it. That was it. And by that point, Jeff was there carrying the American flag. Which was really cool as well. So with the American flag waving right next to PJ, he wasn't stopping.
Feet are killing me, man. You do? How pathetic do I look right now? No, you look awesome.
You look
God.
I would have to say he was definitely the MVP of the run. If you were there, you would have noticed, or in the pictures, whenever I went down, Rusty was the first one grabbing a leg and just going to town on it. I'd had cramps in both legs, and he's sitting there putting me in leg locks you would see like in wrestling or something. He's just got me in these positions. But I mean, immediately, right when I would drop, he'd be right on top of it, massaging out the cramps. I know we were running down 45 at one point, and there's a BP over there on the right as you're coming into Jackson underneath the bridges, about 7-8 miles out of Jackson, and I'm cramping. I'm hurting. That sun came up quick, the humidity hit quick, the heat hit quicker than I thought it would. And Rusty's just, what can I do? How you doing? And Roy Heron's like, what do you need? What do you need? And they're both going back and forth like, hey, we could do this, we could get him that. And I'm just like, help. And I could look down at my quads and I could just see these knots forming, and I just dropped. It was one of those things you didn't see coming. It wasn't like a dizzy bat race where you kind of start stumbling and then I just dropped. And that's when I immediately fell. And I think we had a physical therapist running with us, Heath Ladd. And boy, am I glad that he was there, because Rusty started trying to get one cramp out, and this guy I'd never met before grabs the leg, and I kind of look at him like, hey, who are you? With that look, and he's like, it's okay, I'm Heath. Okay, I'm a physical therapist. Oh, go, do your thing, man. Go to work. And he starts doing his thing, and Rusty's like, I'll be back. I'll get some salt. Who's got salt? And I'm just like, what are you gonna do with that? And he's like, I'll be back. I'm gonna get some salt. And he just takes off sprinting into that BP. And in retrospect, I'm thinking he took off running. Like, he looked like Usain Bolt taking off for that BP to find salt. That was his mission, get salt. And I can only imagine how the people in BP felt. They probably thought they were about to get robbed, because this man just probably came in sprinting, busted in, and probably at the top of his lungs was like, where is the salt? And just as soon as he had left, he was back. He was right there. It took maybe 2 minutes and he was back, and he's like coming back with a handful, and they're just, some are falling out through his fingertips, but he's got some salt, you know, and Dad pulls up in the van and he's like, here, give me that. He probably rips about 4 of them all open at once and dumps them into a Gatorade and shakes it. And I'm like, I'm not drinking that in my mind. And he's like, here, drink this. And I'm like, all right, you know. He's never given me a bad word of advice, so I was like, all right, I'll drink the punch, you know.
Mentally, we knew he had everything in him to finish. Cardiovascularly, we knew he had everything he had to finish. But you're worried about joints and your muscles, like, you know, like after a while, your knees are just gonna say, I can't take another step. I can't support your 180 pounds anymore. And when he would go on the ground like that, there were a couple touch and go moments where we were like, you know, it's not about him. It's just about his body. Can his body do it? But he's on the ground getting rubbed out, and everyone could see the cramps forming. And all we had to do, it was amazing. All we had to do was say Izzy, and PJ would get up and run faster than he did before he went down.
That's when it hit me, like, this is going to be a challenge now. This is good. You know, I had at least 20 people running with me at that point, and that's when it hit me, like, this is the final stretch. You know, you know where Jackson is now. That's the bad part. You know where Jackson is now. I hadn't really ever been through Dyer enough. I'd never been through Trenton enough. I'd never really been through Humboldt enough to know all the roads. But right when I hit that one stretch of 3-way, I knew where everything was, and that kind of put it in my mind, like, oh, cool, you're almost done with this. No, not by a long shot at that point.
6 miles is a long way, and you think like, oh, he just did 42. He only got, or 44 miles. He only got 6 miles left, and you know, just no big deal, just a little jog. No, 6 miles. If you ran 6 miles any given day, that's a long, tiring run. It was getting really hot out at that point. The sun was a lot hotter than we thought it was going to be that day. A little behind schedule. terrain kept tricking us. We kept being like, oh, just over that hill is the last, you know, chunk of the run. Just, oh no, okay, and then you go there and there's still more. And like, oh, it's over that hill. Then you're done. Then you can see Jackson. And we stood out, it seemed like 5 times. Then there's a sign that says, welcome to Jackson. You're like, oh, I'm here. And then a mile down the road, there's another sign that says, welcome to Jackson. You're like, what is going on here? Where are we?
There's like 15 different welcome to Jackson signs. And you want to talk about psychological warfare. That was the worst. Because you're running like welcome to Jackson, or welcome to Jackson, and then you hit another sign, welcome to Jackson, city limits. Welcome to Jackson, speed limit 30 unless otherwise posted. And you're like, okay, really? Come on, I can't take this. Where is Jackson? And as soon as we run into Jackson, I see an old childhood friend's dad of mine, Bob Nickel, standing there taking photos, and I just run over, and he's kind of a big guy, so he can take it, and I just run over there full sprint and jump into his arms, and you know, he gives me one last, you know, you're almost there, let's go, let's move through it. And
it's when people started to meet us on the side of the road and cheer PJ on, and there were people coming on the other side of the bypass, coming the opposite direction, who didn't know what was going on, but saw the American flag and knew something big was happening, and by that, a huge caravan behind us, and honked their horn. And then when we were running, people in the same direction as us had American flags out of every window of their car. And they were obviously headed to the bank. They knew where we were, they knew where they were going, they knew what it was all about. And that was just so encouraging to see. And I had my phone with me, and I was twittering and updating everyone about what's going on, getting a lot of messages back, and still up donations for Izzy's son the whole time. So I'm running these last couple miles, PJ's hurting, and I'm like, PJ, just got a $100 donation, PJ, $50 donation, PJ, $300 donation. And every time that happens, again, he picks up his step and makes it one step closer to the finish line there. That was when the chills really started for this 50-mile run. Because, again, what people don't notice, they see the last couple miles, but you have to put in 49 miles before you can get to the last mile. And PJ put in a lot of hard work to get to these last couple miles, and it couldn't have been any better looking back.
We come in and look to our right, and another childhood friend of mine, Christina Graham, and her family are waiting there, and they jump in the run with me, and so many people right then and there just jump in the run with me, and then my legs gave out again. You know, you're feeling good, you're like, wow, they're running with me.
But that's also when we got another police escort. It's when the fire department came. It's when Rolling Thunder showed up and gave us their encouragement.
We had a convoy rolling with us. I'm talking the fire trucks, Rolling Thunder was with us. Rolling Thunder was with us for a while, at least 20 miles. So many people jumped in to run and jumped in with their vehicles to follow the run. It was just unbelievable. And then I definitely just was like, all right, well, down I go. You know, you're feeling so good having all these people with you, and then all of a sudden you just drop, and you're just like, no, not in front of all these people. And you know, they worked the cramps out then and there. I mean, I wasn't tired. I felt great. I could have run another 100 miles if my legs would have let me, but I guess that goes back into the preparing stage that my legs weren't ready to handle this type of abuse. But I don't care. I've got to finish this thing. And in the back of your mind, you're like, get up, you know, but you can't because you're hurting so bad. And so we finally run in. I get better after that, and we run in, and I think we're at Ashport and 45, and that's when the fire truck picks us up, and that was cool. Two big American flags on it going with us, and we go down to Oil Well, and I mean, all traffic stopped. Everyone stopped. The police really didn't even have to post an escort out in the... People are getting out of their cars, clapping, waving, saluting, honking horns. I mean, people are getting out of their vehicles just to clap, and that's when you know, like, we're almost there.
I'm sort of lying to PJ. I'm like, PJ, a mile left, when there's like 2. You know what I mean? So playing a little games, and I told Brent, like, this last bit's uphill, man. This is gonna be a really hard part of the course, even though it's the victory lap at the end. But again, PJ wasn't gonna stop at that point. Seeing people all along the side, seeing kids yell for PJ. Cars pulled over. It was stunning. It was perfection. It was exactly what we hoped it would be, that people got it, you know, people understood. And even people who just happened to be stuck in traffic when we were crossing the road weren't ticked off at what we were doing. They could tell something special was happening, and it had an aura about it, and it was good, and it was one of those moments when you were just reaffirmed that what was happening was a really special thing. And not only were there people on the side and take time out of their day to be there, but tears. People were crying and waving the flag, and it was that was a really great time of the run. And again, just seeing everyone there waiting for us, and knowing that we were about an hour behind what we thought, but still was checking out the website, checking out Twitter, and maybe even got there really early and waited. I mean, that's what it was all about. I was talking to someone afterwards, and I hate that I couldn't be at the bank and see what it was like, but I asked someone what it was like, and they said there was a lot of praying going on. They said people would get the pictures that we were putting on the website as we were running of PJ getting stretched out on the ground, just in a lot of pain, and they would announce that and show the pictures, and he said people would just go and pray and bow their heads, and that was the last couple of bit there was the answering of their prayers of safety, which is good.
There were so many people waiting to jump in for that last little bit of the run, and that was the time where I had to walk a little bit because my legs were cramping and I didn't want to fall again. Not in front of all these people, you know. The film crews were there, WBBJ was there, everyone's watching, everyone's running with you, and no one will look down on you for doing it, but I'll feel like I won't feel it'll hurt my ego if I sit here and go down again. I can't. I hate having to walk during this run. I said I could run the whole thing, but I start walking and power walking it out, and I'm trying to get these cramps out. I'm trying to stretch.
I'll never forget. I'm about 2 rows behind PJ, and PJ's in the front with one of his Marine friends, and PJ's carrying the flag and the other guy's carrying the Marine flag, and PJ looks at his Marine friend and does this, and that was it. And they started to book it to the finish line to meet Colonel Harding, and the guy next to me, we're like, what? Like, we're all exhausted at this point, and we didn't run 50 miles, and we're like, we gotta sprint now? But that's how PJ was gonna finish that run.
That's when I almost gave out again, and I look up and it's Colonel Jim Harding. I'm talking one of my most personal heroes.
Of course, meeting PJ was a real thrill, because here's a real warrior. It's coming down the home stretch and he's struggling. He was really having a difficult time. In fact, it was about an hour late from what his estimated time of completion was. So when I went out to meet him, you know, you could almost see, good. We're getting close to home now because Jim's coming out to meet me, and he said he would. That was the one thing. And the other thing was, it just like he almost relaxed. He says, I've got it made now. I've got help the rest of the way.
And he comes up and he grabs the American flag and he's like, I got that. And I'm like, okay, well then, you got me. And I just put my arm around him and I just give him all the weight I've got. And he's like, no, you can put more if you need to. And I'm like, all right. And I probably put at least all my body weight on the Colonel, and he carried me at least for that last mile. So looking back on it now, you didn't maybe notice it then, but there were so many people that were just at that right time when you needed that shoulder to lean on, when you needed that person to get you just that bottle of water or hand you that power bar, or just run and listen to you talk. Even if, I think there was a few miles where I was talking, it probably wasn't making any sense because I was definitely hitting into runner's delirium a little bit, but heck, people were there listening. People were there for me when I needed them the most. You know, it was one of those situations where I expected to be doing it on my own anyway, with a little bit of help here and there, but I didn't expect this.
The crowd was fantastic. From that point on, it was solid people with waving flags, cheering him on, fire engines with their sirens going, the crowd just totally into it. And you know, that last mile and a half was, I know it was very, very difficult for him because his legs were knotted up pretty bad.
There were a lot of people arm in arm walking with us as we walked that last mile. That was unbelievable. I got my arm around the Colonel, I've got my other arm around my Marine buddy Dexter, and we're just, you know, trying to finish that run, and I can't speak, I can't say anything. Like everything I'm taking it all in, and it's just like, I don't even know how to describe it. And people are lining the roads, cheering, clapping, trying to pass out water to everyone. And
Dear Izzy, words cannot describe how I feel in this moment. We have raised so much money in such a short amount of time and brought so much awareness to our cause. You inspired all of us this 4th to become better as Americans, as people who will help at the drop of a hat. Izzy, it's a shame I never met you. I can't imagine what I could have learned from a man like you, who had so much going for him. You have an amazing family, a strong soulmate, and a beautiful son, who will grow up to learn that his father's passing was not in vain. Instead, your memory was continued by thousands all over West Tennessee who donated so much time, effort, and whatever money they could donate to see that Turner is taken care of. You promised to take care of us, Izzy, when you joined up, and you served valiantly. You and I, Izzy, never had the opportunity to meet. And we didn't serve together on the same battlefield. But we defended the same flag as we promised. You are my brother, Izzy. There's no doubt in that. I could not have finished the race without you. You were there every step. I could feel you. The movement started with you as an inspiration. It was only after seeing how many lives you touched, after passing on, did you become my hero. I can't wait to meet you one day, Izzy. I guarantee one thing when that day comes. We'll both be running to the gates to greet one another.
And it was just one of those moments where you're just like, that just happened. You know, this is unbelievable.
It was just a total thrill to feel that this comrade of mine, his brother in arms, had just done something that he said he was going to do, that everybody kind of thought was impossible, but he did it. He did it for the right reason. He did it strictly to help somebody else. Totally selfless, devotion, dedicated type of a function that he did to help somebody else. I was so proud of him. I was proud to be a part of it.
And we just pull into the community bank, and there's everyone waiting there, and then someone busts out in the song, you know, God Bless America, and everyone's chiming into it.
Yeah, sing it loud, sing it loud. Stand beside her. Stand up. The lights from above. And it was beautiful. And again, when things are right, it just comes together. And when you have good people doing good things for a good cause like that, great things like that happen. And that was a wonderful moment. And I don't know how it started, but it did.
That really was the way to finish it, is to come into Community Bank. And I don't know who it was that started that, but that was the moment to start singing God Bless America. And, you know, I hugged Denise, and I was like, told you I'd meet you in Jackson. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go over here and lay down now, and, you know.
And then when he finally got over there and they started helping him out with cooling his legs down and so on, it took him a while before I think it even hit him what he had actually accomplished. I'm not sure even today realizes what he accomplished, but it was a magnificent effort and a tremendous task that he completed.
It was a long run, but PJ Kellogg, that guy right there, just ran 50 miles. And we all know why we did it today. We did it for a fallen hero, U.S. Army Sergeant Izzy O'Brien. Let's hear it for Izzy. He brought us those whole 50. Yeah! We all know that freedom isn't free. And Izzy gave his life for our country so that we can live in freedom and we can enjoy delicious barbecues this weekend with our family. Where's the family of Izzy O'Brien? They were with us the whole time. Let's hear them again. They raised a hero. As we were running, I was checking my email, getting updates on all the donations. And as of now, not even including what you've given and what Community Grocery is going to be so generous to give, and what people can give in the next few weeks when they hear about what happened here today. But right now, you have raised for a scholarship fund for 1-year-old Turner $7,000. Midnight tonight, about 40 people met us at the New Bern City Hall, downtown in the square. New Bern, 50 miles. We ran through Trenton, through Dyer, through Trenton, through Humboldt, in the middle of the night. I didn't, that guy didn't. In the middle of the night to get here, and he knew that when he got here, liberty-loving Americans like you would be here. That got him through it.
The real hero today is PJ. He did it for the right reasons. He did it because we're a nation under God. Thank the Lord for what we have, and we got great people like Izzy and PJ to support us everything we do.
Right.
We're going to make PJ a member of Veteran Defenders of America, because he certainly is a veteran defender of America. Thank you.
How can you not start off with saying thank you? Everyone who ran with me, everyone who was there along the road, and everyone who just took part in donating the money to make this happen. It's an unbelievable thing when we come together for a cause we truly believe in. When that happens, great things can happen. And that reaffirms why America is the greatest nation in the world. Say it loud. I really wish I'm so tired. I can't say anything right now except just thank you to the guys who ran with me, keeping fresh legs, cycling in and out. It was unbelievable. He would have done it for me. Even though we wore the same uniform, we defended the same flag. He will always be my brother, no matter what. He would do this for me in a heartbeat. When I spoke with Denise this morning, it was just, I really didn't plan on crying 2 miles in, but it was too hard to overcome, seeing all these flags and just coming through, making it for you guys, you know. I don't feel like I've done anything. I did what I said what I would do. And like I said, Sergeant Izzy O'Brien is my brother, and he'd do it for me too if he said he would. He's an unbelievable man. He's an inspiration. And not only is he my brother, he's my hero.
I don't know if I'll ever be a part of anything greater than that. The power of good people doing good things, and the miracle of what the human body can achieve when inspired by a righteous cause. To see someone in such pain progress over 10, 11 hours and to not stop. And to be in that level of pain and to overcome it, not for any selfish reason, but purely for someone else, in a truly spiritual way that we could all feel as we were running. I don't see any way how that feeling can be duplicated. I don't think I'll ever experience it again. It was beyond life. It was beyond reality. And you could tell PJ could feel Izzy with him every single step he took.
I think what PJ did almost, it goes beyond your imagination. He was willing to sacrifice himself, his body, his time, and a lot of effort for somebody else. That's what the United States of America is all about. That's what Tennessee is about. We are about helping our fellow man. That's what the military does all the time. Yes, we fight wars, but we fight the wars for one purpose, and that's peace and freedom here in the United States of America and throughout the world. More than 60 countries throughout the world we've given that peace and freedom to. He, by doing this, showed that it doesn't stop when you get out of the military, but it continues throughout your life, and that's what a veteran does. A veteran is always serving his or her country, and I think PJ was a prime example of how someone that wants to do something can do it. He put his heart and soul into it. He did what he wanted to do, and it was for a very, very good reason and a good cause. And I have to salute him and say, good job, Marine.
If you have to take anything away from this, is to know that you don't, there's so many things you can do for so many people around you to help out in any way that you can. You know, whether it be pulling over to help someone with a flat tire, or helping someone load their groceries in the car, or, you know, there are always those opportunities that are going to arise where someone will need your help. Someone will need you to be there for them. They didn't ask you to be. Maybe they're too stubborn to ask, or maybe they just think they can do it on their own. But there's always going to be those times where you're needed. And if anything, take away that, you know, anything that you do to help someone out is more than what they could ask for. I wouldn't have asked anyone to help, you know, because it wouldn't have been my nature to. It's not like a stubborn factor I have. It's just, I guess it would have never came across my mind to. I wanted the help as much as I could get, but I didn't expect what I received. And thank the Lord that He put the right people in my life. And I made a lot of friends that day that I'll never forget. It's just amazing that so many people, without even thinking about it, were there for me when I needed them the most. But when all those people showed up at all those various places to sit there and help me through that, through probably the hardest thing that I'll ever do in my life, perfect strangers, people like the gentleman who carried the American flag at least 12 miles to shade me from the sun. It's those selfless acts like that that should help us all to realize that this is America. And we do have this obligation to always be there for each other no matter what. We live here together. We've always got to have each other's back, and on that day, everyone had my back. So if you can take anything away from it that day, it's really, maybe we're all strangers, but really we're all family. And we do have that obligation to each other to make sure that we all see each other through the toughest of times, and always to be there for each other no matter what. Even if you don't know the individual, there are just those times where you can't ask why. It's just, let's do it. I'm here for you, no matter what. And that's one of the greatest founding principles that this nation was founded upon, and I think it was greatly exemplified that weekend. And if anything to take away from it, it was that weekend, that you don't have to know someone's story to just want to be there for them, want to help them out. And it's a weekend like that, when people show everything like that, that makes you want to do this again at the drop of a hat, because you know they'll be there for you again. And as Mike told me, you know, it's going to be, I think we were playing racquetball one time. I was probably winning, and it was after the game when we started talking about it. It was a few days before the run, and it was one of those situations where he's like, you have to understand something, PJ. This is going to be the most historic day of your life. Whatever you do that day, it's going to stick with you for the rest of your life. And I was like, yeah, you know, cool. You know, I didn't know how to take it at that time. And then hearing his words again now, he was right. And it was one of those days that I don't think I'll ever be able to be topped, but at the same time, I'll never forget the people who were directly involved with that. And there's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to prepare differently if I choose to do something along these lines next year for Izzy. There's going to be a lot of things I do differently, like maybe I'll train. I might, you know, drink water before the run instead of sweet tea. I might eat a little bit more on the run. You know, you learned a lot from this run, but the thing that you learn the most that is sometimes honestly forgotten is that you're an American. That is, it sounds like a cliche to even say something like that, but when you look around and realize what you just accomplished, and there's 400 or 500 people there, all with American flags, all just cheering you on, and you just look around and realize, wow, this is America. We're always going to be here for each other no matter what. And I barely knew anyone that came up to me and congratulated me that day, but no matter what, from here on out, they're all my friends and family now. I can't wait to do something like this again. What Izzy did to me, not even knowing him, I never met the guy, but I didn't have to, because I know that he would have done this for me without even thinking about it. If he would have heard my story, if the same situation would have happened to me, I guarantee he would have been there for me at the drop of a hat, no matter what. Probably running 250 miles, guaranteed. He would have thought selflessly without even giving it thought. And he would have, guaranteed he would have done something like that for me, from the way everyone exemplifies his character, or his friends, his family, the way they, you know, told me about his character. I know he'd be there for me. And it's things like that that make you want to do things like this again. So yeah, it's gonna happen again. I don't know what yet, but it's gonna be something. And no, Mike is not allowed to plan it. If that's the next question, he's done. He's done being the map guy. He'll be there, maybe running. He'll be there more in a support role, but he's not gonna be allowed to function the GPS. He'll be the cheerleader.
I'd like to announce right here for the first time that in July 4th, 2011, Marine Corporal PJ Kellogg is going to run 100 miles! Don't tell him that yet, he doesn't know.
What? I remember someone saying something about it, how, well, Mike didn't have his shirt on for the entire time, which was Mike. And I remember him giving that speech right there in the middle. I couldn't hear what he said because everything was spinning and I was done. And I hear everyone cheering and screaming and everyone looks over at me and Mike is like, yeah, clapping, looking at me, and I'm kind of laying on the ground just, what? Like, am I supposed to come say something or something? And Dad's like, he said you're gonna run 100 next year? And I'm like, no, those are the things that get me into trouble. These wild guesses of running 50, yeah, okay. We can try to make them work, but Mike is not in charge of whatever happens next year because we'll be skydiving without parachutes next year for charity if he had his way. So, the 100-miler, maybe.